Let's hope so, because the city will have it hanging all over the place. I always thought that. I was like, what in the world? How do they get rid of all this web that's hanging from all these buildings? They're like, well, we know Spider-Man was here.
And welcome back to the Screen movie review podcast. I'm Jamie.
And I'm JJ.
And today we are talking about Sam Raimi's Spider-Man from 2002.
I love this movie. I'm excited.
Me too. What was your introduction to Spider-Man?
Oh my gosh. Well, it's like I grew up in the 80s, so I mean, it's 80s and 90s, I was a kid in the 80s. And so Spider-Man was everywhere, it's just, you had your pajamas and your sheets for your bed and the cartoons and, Spider-Man and Friends. So that was probably my introduction. I started collecting comics as soon as I had extra money to spend. So I have a few comics of Spider-Man, and I was always a fan of Spider-Man, as was my son. My son went through a phase where he was running around the house going pew, 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 pew. And it was, of course, this movie, because he was born in 2005 and this was 2002. So he definitely, Spider-Man's always been, near and dear to my heart, for sure.
Yeah. Mine's quite the opposite because I'm more of a Batman fan. And so I stuck to DC side for a long, long time. Now, it doesn't mean that I didn't have a Spider-Man toy back in 84, 85, along with a whole lot of toys from the DC Kenner Superpowers line.
Okay.
But I only had like a few figures from Marvel, and it was from the Secret Wars. I've got two right here. And so we've got Spider-Man and Doc Ock. Now, Doc Ock had arms, but I've since either lost them or I've got two of them, and the little nubs have broke inside.
Yeah.
The
they
figure.
weren't made to last 40 years.
No. But I played with them like a lot, so you get your money's worth.
Right.
And figures weren't expensive back then as they are today.
Right, for sure. I too have brought one of my Spider-Man figures. So this one, it's a bit odd. It's got the web shooter. So you would put this in and hit the button on the side, shoots out, and then I guess this is his wall crawling hand right there. So that's the extent of my Spider-Man figures. I have other Marvel figures, but that's it. So
there's a size difference a little bit. Yours is bigger than mine.
Taller, yeah. And that's the manufacturer, right? So yours, when did you? This one was Toy Biz. Mine was Toy Biz.
And this just says Marvel Comics.
Okay.
So I have no idea who. I'd have to search that.
Well, I remember. I'm pretty sure it was the toy store was Toy Biz, wasn't that? It was in the mall.
No, that was K&B Toys.
K&B Toys, okay.
Toy Biz is a toy line.
The manufacturer.
And so they went on also from the 91 Spider-Man toy line. They also made the toys for the Spider-Man animated series in 94.
Right.
And
okay.
So, yeah.
So, of note right here, this toy, as of recording, is, this was in 91. So this is 34 years old. This one is 1984. So it's got me beat.
Yeah, do the math. I'm not going to do the math on that one.
Well, what was that, 41? So I mean, so it's 2025. So yeah, that's an old toy. So awesome.
Yeah,
I love it.
And so later on in the 90s, when Spider-Man the animated series in 94 came out, I guess it was a part of the Saturday morning lineup of cartoons, along with the X-Men. And since I had a Spider-Man toy back in the 80s, I was like, okay, I do like Spider-Man. So I went ahead and gave that cartoon a chance and enjoyed it too, and enjoyed X-Men as well. I didn't watch it all the time, but I watched Spider-Man more than I did X-Men. and I enjoyed that storyline. And I do believe that the Spider-Man cartoon left or was canceled and left us hanging on a cliffhanger.
Okay.
Basically, I think it was. I've read later on, just recently, that I think Mary Jane had been pulled into a different multiverse,
Oh. Okay.
and so there was no resolution to that. But
Okay.
I think they made this a Spider-Man '94 comic as well, and they resolved that storyline through the comic
Gotcha.
later on.
Okay.
So I've never been able to look at the comics on that side, and so
Yeah, I may have to revisit it just to,
Yeah.
to get caught up on all that, for sure.
but yeah, I mean, when Spider-Man the movie came out in 2002, it looked like a very fun movie.
Right, because it was.
It was, yeah, and I remember it being, fond memories for me when seeing it and watching it again just recently. Watching it for this review, that all those good feelings, came back, and
The nostalgia.
the nostalgia, and I'm like, this is really a good flick. A lot of people may harp on it a little bit, for its shortcomings.
No movie's
But,
perfect.
yeah.
There's none that are like totally flawless.
Yeah. But you gotta watch it for what it is, and
Right.
enjoy it.
Right.
And so that's what I did, at least. And I remember after watching it, having that feeling that I could just, web sling from building to building as I'm
Sure.
driving home from the movie theater.
Right.
I had the Spider-Man theme music blaring, and just
Oh yeah.
got me in that mood.
Again, that's
Yeah.
why my son was bouncing off the couch, and I mean, he was, maybe 3 or 4, and it was funny. It was good stuff.
Yeah.
We also have the game. You have the game here. Do you want to do the honors?
Sure. This is Spider-Man: Return of the Sinister Six.
Yes.
And so I have not played it. I actually bought this game from JJ.
You did. I remember the day. It
And
was
so-
bittersweet for me to part with it. I do remember playing this game, and Electro was fun to fight against, and it's of course the Sinister Six are the main 6 nemesis characters in the Spider-Man series. So they wrapped them all up in this one game for him to battle. And it's a hard game. This game, most Nintendo games are tough, and this is one of those. This is up at the top of the line. It's pretty tough because you can only do so much with 8 bits. So
Nintendo games back then were pretty tough.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was some of them that I remembered being just like unbeatable.
Yeah.
Mega Man #1 is at the hardest I can get to a certain point in that one. So yeah, this I loved this game. I did put a few hours on this game for sure. Yeah, enjoyed it.
The one thing about the Spider-Man 2002 movie is that it came out in a time just years before there were no streaming services.
Right.
There were no smartphones. You may had the BlackBerry maybe,
Maybe.
or
Yeah, it was 2002,
Palm
so.
Pilot.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you had. But it was nothing like a smartphone, and the processor, if any, was very limited.
Right.
You didn't have social media.
Right.
You couldn't buy tickets online.
Yeah, you had to go.
Had to go to the theater to purchase your tickets ahead of time at the box office. And I do believe, though, that they were just starting maybe to have those kiosks at the movie theater.
I don't get me lying. We're talking 23 years ago.
Yeah, but I think I remember that was kind of probably the time that they've just started putting those kiosks there.
Okay.
But it wasn't online or anything.
Right.
It was just and nowadays you select your seat Before, you just don't. It was all pretty much the same price, and you fought to get a good
Yeah,
seat.
you had to get there early to get a good seat for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a different world.
It was.
And
it was.
especially it was filmed before 9/11, 2001.
Mm-hmm.
And the Twin Towers actually were going to be featured in it, in the background. And so because of CGI being more and more used, because CGI was still young.
It was, yeah.
And some of the CGI in this film is really bad, but it's okay.
Well, I mean, they did the best they could
yeah.
with what they had at the time.
Yeah.
So,
But then the one thing that they did leave in that I guess they thought it was just quick enough, they removed any scenes of him flying by the Twin Towers or anything like that, or either they digitally erased the two towers.
right.
Because it was released after
Very sensitive.
after 9/11.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was very sensitive. And so there is a poster out there that is worth probably a little bit of money because it shows that in his eye lens, the reflection of the Twin Towers.
That's at the very end of the movie. At the end of the movie,
Yeah.
because of course I rewatched this movie too, and it's at the very end scene whenever he is heading, is just again it's towards the end of the movie, and yes, it's in there where you see the Twin Towers,
Yeah.
and then it's like it starts right there with a close up,
Right.
and then you see the Twin Towers, and then the camera pans away from his face,
Very
and then
quick.
very fast, Yep. But they're in there.
But yeah, but there was a poster that I think they pulled those, if I'm not mistaken, and they replaced it without the reflection of the Twin Towers
Right.
or another pose or something. But those posters that the movie employees, I guess, got a hold of, when they were yanking them down, they're worth a pretty penny, I think, on
Yeah, I'll
eBay or wherever it may be sold online too. So
no doubt.
it was a little expensive back then. It's probably really expensive now
For sure.
to get your hands on it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Speaking of expensive, I have a few comics to show.
yeah,
So these are not that expensive. These are the Marvel Milestone reprints. There's one right there. And that's where he's fighting the Fantastic Four. And I did look these up online, and I mean the cost of this one, I would consider mine all to be in very good condition. I've always kept them in these plastic case sleeves, and this one is the reprint of the first appearance of Spider-Man. So let's see, what is it? The Amazing Fantasy, and Lord, what I wouldn't give to have an original of that. Good grief, I would love that. So I have those, and again, these are online, $5 to $10 a piece, and that's no biggie. This one is a #1 issue that I have. It's Spider-Man 2099, and I looked this one up, and on the low end, and I believe this one to be, very good to near mint. Because I may have read this once or twice. I bought it because the cover looked really cool.
Yeah.
So on the low end, this is a $100 comic book, and on the high end that I've seen, it's about $250. So I don't think I'm going to be selling this anytime soon, but that is, I dig the cover, and is again, he's got, there's a futuristic, there's cops on like hover flying machines coming after him, and it's super cool. This is the only Spider-Man comic that I have that features the Green Goblin. So appropriate because Green Goblin is the villain in this first Spider-Man movie. So, I dig that one. And then this one is another #1 that I have. This is Spider-Man first all-new collector's item issue, The Legend of the Iraq Knight. And this one, I looked it up online, it's only about a $20, maybe $30 comic, so that's not a big deal. But again, they're all near and dear to my heart, and I had to dig them out of my stash to bring them to show and tell tonight for this. So, love it.
that's awesome.
Yeah, I love them.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever part with those comic books.
Yeah.
I have the cards too. I have the Marvel Series 1 cards, the entire collection. I think there's like 100 and something cards in that. And I have, I think it's Series 2 Marvel cards and Series 3. I like the Series 3 the best. The way that the animation looks on those cards and the pictures and just the way that the cards were made. That's probably my favorite of all of those series for sure. Right. So
yeah. So Spider-Man has a long history.
Absolutely.
In television, in the movies, you've got comic books, toys.
Right. Well, again, this was 1962.
Yeah.
Is in this one right here, Amazing Fantasy number 15, a reprint 1962 right there. So he's got a few years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I mean, that's my in-laws were born in the early 60s, so I mean, that's, man, well, again, what I wouldn't give to have an original copy of
Right. Maybe you will one day.
Yeah, maybe. To have it in a room in a shrine somewhere and be like, don't even look at it. Don't come near it.
Install a specific light to shine on it.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah. So even like, I know that this film kind of uses the old Spider-Man theme as well.
It does.
Yeah, which was nice. And you always should, go back and remember your history a little bit in those movies.
Right. I was perusing through that comic today. I did pull it out of the sleeve, the one, his first appearance.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting to look through it and see the story of how he was introduced and how he wrestled, the guy. And in this comic, I'm just going to dive right into all of it. So in the comic, when he wrestles the guy, instead of $3,000 like it is, it's for $100.
Yeah.
And he gets his $100. So, and he doesn't have, it's just him in a white t-shirt with a mask on, like pantyhose looking mask, and his pant, it looks like some slacks on, and his dress shoes. He's got dress shoes on when he's fighting this guy. So it was pretty cool just to kind of thumb through it and kind of make the comparison between the actual comic and the first appearance and the movie.
Because it's $3,000 that if you win the fight, within 3 minutes or
within,
and he gets $100 just like the comic,
right?
But the stakes were higher, and he gets cheated out of it,
right.
And therefore it sets up the whole thing of where was Peter Parker when Uncle Ben died, and so he was doing selfish things, to earn a buck or two, and
it was revenge. He got cheated out of his money, so he let the bad guy go, and then
why
the bad
didn't
guy
you stop him?
Yeah, then now he's gonna get away with my money.
I failed to see where that's my problem.
Yep.
So that was definitely a key, in that movie too. What I think is fun about this movie whenever it starts is that it almost starts like Batman started in 1989, this long introduction, going around a famous bat symbol that you didn't know what it was at first, and then it reveals to be the bat symbol. And
you can't help it. You got to bring it back to Batman.
I've got to bring it back to Batman because Batman paved the way for these superhero movies.
You did. Yeah, he did.
So did, Christopher Reeve's Superman as well. Those two movies made it okay and made it where they knew that superhero movies would be successful.
Yeah.
And so you see with Spider-Man, you've got to just do that little parallel there that, were they trying to, stick with a formula that they knew worked with a opening, and then they did the web type of showing the web in CGI form
Right.
and the buildings, and Spider-Man, like, kind of, you see a glimpse of him here and there, in animated form,
Yeah.
and of course you see the title Spider-Man, and so it just made me think,
Yeah,
it's
but
like,
you're right because it does give the feels of the Batman theme. Because when I was watching it and I was listening to the intro music and
yeah,
the music throughout, I was like, "Wow, this you can tell that the same guy, the same composer from Batman did this."
and he
And
did.
it's yeah,
Danny Elfman.
yeah, he did, and
And
you can
he's
tell.
amazing. This score is fantastic for this movie. I mean, this is Spider-Man's theme, just as Danny Elfman's theme for Batman is Batman's theme
Right,
forever and ever and ever.
right.
And so this, I know we've had the other two Spider-Man movies, but this Tobey Maguire is my Spider-Man, and the other guys are good. I have no quarrels over Andrew Garfield or what's the other guy's name?
The newest one,
The newest one,
we'll call him the new
the
Spider-Man.
new Spider-Man. We'll put the title up for his name.
Okay,
So that's
or not.
That's his name. So, but yeah, Tobey Maguire is my Spider-Man. Even though later on in Spider-Man 2 and 3, there's a lot of whining, per se.
Well, I mean, they were. Since you said it, so I did see there was an interview one time. I think it was after, maybe it was after all three of them were done, and they were interviewing Kirsten Dunst, and she was talking about when she got the call that they wanted to do a Spider-Man 3, and you could tell that she was just over it because in her interview she was like, "Really? They wanted to do another one?" So at a certain point, I mean, there's only so many Spider-Man stories you can tell in movie form.
You could tell a lot. There's no excuse
Well,
for
yeah,
for
but I
what
mean, she
what-
probably didn't want to be pigeonholed into that character, and I would imagine 3 movies probably, and so the filming of the movies and then the promotion of the movies probably takes up what, a year, 2 years of your life, so you talking 6 to 7, maybe 8 years of her life
Yeah.
just being that character,
And,
and promoting all of that.
I think things have probably changed more today with superhero movies, because I think when you get involved in it, you are expected to be in every sequel, every spin-off,
Oh, yeah.
everything. So I think you now have the mindset as an actor that this is going to be like it for you for a long time.
Oh yeah, well, after the first Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire got signed on for the other 2 Spider-Man movies, and that was $26 million paycheck for him.
Yeah.
So yeah, he probably wasn't crying about making 3 Spider-Man movies.
Right. But back then in 2002 and even in '89 and the '79, 3 movies is a big deal,
Yeah, it's a trilogy.
and it's a lot of work. And you as an actor, I don't want to be branded Superman for life. I don't want to be branded Batman for life, and whatever else other series that were out there. But that's what they're known for, because they made it good.
Right,
They made
Yeah.
it memorable.
right.
And so Tobey Maguire made Spider-Man memorable.
Yeah.
On the big screen.
And he fit the character too. He you could tell that he cared about it, that he put in the time to bulk up. He did, of course every actor trains,
Right.
but he did bulk up for the role. He was 27 when they filmed this. So he had the look to where he was old enough to where he could put on the muscle, but young enough that you would still buy him as you could buy into him being a teenager in high school.
Yeah.
So it's there's a certain point where you get too old and your looks change enough to where they're like, yeah, there's no way this guy's in high
Right.
school.
Especially when he returns for the new Homecoming movie, or the new Spider-Man movies.
Right.
You can tell that Tobey has aged quite a bit, and he's not that young guy anymore.
Right.
But who cares?
Time does that to you. Yeah, exactly.
No CGI can hide that.
Right.
Unless you just hire another actor that looks like him. But anyhow, yeah. And so you always in Hollywood they choose older people to play teenagers. It's just because of probably the maturity level and the acting level as well, and the acting skill, which is fine, And people harp on probably the whininess and the other lines and stuff like that. But as I'm looking at it, I am looking at these characters, and these actors are expressing what teenagers would do. I think you have Mary Jane, who is just this happy girl, that she wants to be liked, she wants to be loved, and she's flirty, and you see her act, and so as Peter Parker is taking pictures of her at the science lab or whatnot
on their field trip, the opening scene,
she's posing and she's like, and all this, and so it just,
which is where he gets bitten by the spider.
Yeah, and so it looks like they're acting like teenagers.
Yeah, so
I think it's believable.
Yeah,
other people may think it's over the top, or I don't know what other people may think, but I look at it and I'm like, this looks believable.
Right.
They're playing teenagers and it's believable.
So whenever they're in the lab or in the whatever it is, the spider, the science lab, and you see the spider come down and it bites him on the hand, and then he knocks it down, and then you see it crawl under. It's got the blue and the red.
Right.
So I thought that was CGI. But I read up on it, and they actually anesthetized a spider and painted that spider those colors. So that was a real spider that they put to sleep, painted, and then used it in the movie.
It's amazing how they can put these little animals to sleep. Like the glow.
I mean, that's a tiny little brush. That would be so tedious. Oh my gosh.
The glow in the dark fish, that you buy at Walmart or whatever, used to be able to buy at Walmart.
Right.
It's they don't do it this way anymore, but it used to be like a little pinprick, I think, process for the fish, and I think they'd put them under, and it's
ridiculous.
It's crazy and ridiculous, and it's borderline or either past the borderline of being harm, doing harm to the animal.
Right.
So.
Right. Maybe. Yeah. I could see that. Yep. So in that scene, I think that's whenever in the opening scene there, where they're in the laboratory and the spider bites him, that's whenever you get the first glimpse of Peter being jealous of Harry. Because Peter doesn't have the guts to go talk to Mary Jane.
Right.
And he says the line to Harry about the spider's defense mechanism, and then Harry uses that to talk to Mary Jane, and you can see the look on his face, and he's like, what did he just do? He's supposed to be my boy. Why is he using my line to talk to this chick that I love?
And I love how Harry was like, so suave about it. He's like, this, it's like defense mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say defense mechanism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, it's like, Peter's like, what?
Exactly. So what I thought was, one of the things I thought was interesting, so he gets bitten there, and, of course why you wouldn't go to the hospital, who knows? He just goes home and goes to sleep. Who knows if this thing's gonna kill him or not. It looked like a Black Widow that was been painted, the body shape and everything, but at any rate, so he goes home, and he goes home, to sleep.
And, Uncle Ben, I think, is like, you want a bite? No thanks, had a bite.
Yeah, I already had a bite. Yeah. So he got that little pun in there. Yep. And so when he wakes up the next morning, of course, he's all buff and, everything's changed. His molecular, structure's changed. And, and it gives you that. And that's part of the CG. Overnight, it gives you the restructuring of his DNA and pieces being pulled out and put back in. And they're the Spider-Man colors.
And even before, even beforehand, you see him in the mirror. He's this skinny, scrawny little guy, his CGI work or whatever, and so I appreciate that, showing that he's a scrawny individual, and he faints, or goes to sleep or whatever, and so you see the red and blue
transformation,
the red and blue DNA, and all that, and then he wakes up and he puts on his glasses. And he sees that he can't see anymore.
He doesn't need his glasses anymore.
He doesn't need his glasses. And so you see, from, I think, his point of view, blurry, clear, And so he's like, okay. And then he looks and he's all buffed out.
Got the muscles.
And he's got the muscles. He's got the six-pack. He's got all that, And so and so, of course, his ego is going up. And he's got it. And if there's no troubles in his life anymore, he's not. And of course, before we see him being the nerd and being picked on and all that, miss the bus. And,
right.
And Mary Jane, convinces the bus driver, to pull over to let him in and all that. And so we have all that set up. One thing that I did notice that they don't cover is the story of how Peter Parker's parents died.
Right.
And they just
go
over that.
I mean, at a certain point, you can only fit so much into the movie, and how much backstory can you fit in and explain to not take and not take away from the main plot of the movie.
Yeah.
So how would you open that can of worms without diving deeper into it?
Well,
and that's what they tried to do in the Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, I remember that. It could have been just a throwaway line, like, my parents died, Aunt May, or, and now Uncle Ben, is dead, or something like that.
Maybe.
Could be.
Well, they should have asked you.
All
they had to do was ask Jamie. You would have told them.
I would have told him what it was supposed to be.
Right. So he misses the bus, and then he gets to school, and I like that they didn't drag it out. I like that it's like as soon as he gets bitten, stuff starts happening, and you see the transformation. So he's in the lunchroom, and Mary Jane's coming up, and she slips, and her tray goes everywhere, and her food goes up, and what's crazy is they filmed that scene, I think it was 156 times, and they glued the tray to his hand. And so that's not special effects.
Right.
He actually caught all of that. But that's the thing about acting is you give anybody 156 chances to get it right, dude, I'll get it. You give me 156 chances to get something right, I'm going to get it right at some point.
Yeah.
So on that note, I feel like just about anyone can become an actor. You just, again, there was an interview I saw, I'm just thinking of it came to mind, David Spade. Mm-hmm. That's what he said. He said, anyone can be an actor. It's not that hard. Yeah. You give me enough tries to get it right, I'll get it right eventually. Yeah. So it might be painful in the process to get through it, but it'll happen. So he catches all the food. And, that's when he makes his mark on her, and he doesn't have his glasses on. So then she's like, oh, you have blue eyes. This is the first time I've seen you without your glasses. And then they have that connection right there. And that's the scene where he discovers the web, too, because he does something and it shoots out and it hits the tray across the table.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so that, to me, was the first part where they really got off of the main Spider-Man story, because in the original Spider-Man comics and all throughout, it's not coming out of his wrist.
Right.
He has this whatever attachment device that he's made, and it's this serum or whatever it is that
web
he's
slinger.
designed, the web slinger, right? And it, it shoots out the web. So in this movie, the reason I was fine with it. It didn't bother me at all that it wasn't a device that he made, the web slinger. It was actually coming out of his wrist. I thought that, as far as the spider bite goes, if you're going to transform your whole body, that would make sense to me.
Yeah.
But that made a lot of people upset. That made a lot of fans upset because they strayed so far from the origin of Spider-Man. And the reason they did that is Sam Raimi said that it was more plausible than a teenager being able to design something that the most advanced companies couldn't design.
Right.
Like he would have the spare time to build this device and come up with this serum and everything. So as far as the audience suspending their disbelief, that's what made more sense for the movie at the time. Yeah. And I buy that. I get that. I accept that, and I think I like it better.
I do too. I mean, I wasn't privy to the comic books or anything like that. The only thing was the animated series that I really knew, and I probably didn't pay half of attention to that one. So I couldn't even tell you if he had a web slinger device or if it actually came through his arms or whatever. But I liked it. I accepted it, and it didn't bother me at all. I do recall, though, you made me remember reading online, and people up in arms about it, and so yeah, and I was like, well,
Again,
I like
no
it.
movie is perfect. You can't get it right 100% of the time.
Yeah.
No baseball player ever bats 1,000.
No.
So, yeah, I thought it was great. And of course, that leads to when he does hit the web and he hits that tray, and then he slings it back behind him, and that hits Flash, and then the fight is on.
Yeah.
And then Flash gets mad and comes, and that's his first test of his skills, is when he fights Flash in the hallway. And that's when his Spidey sense first goes off.
Well, his first one is when he catches the tray.
Right, okay. That's the Spidey sense goes off when she's coming up. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. So that's the second Spidey sense part then.
Yeah. And so he hones in more on his skills, and I love that scene when the punch goes and he's like,
it's slow-mo and he's just looking back and forth at it. Right. Right. And that's, again, he's realizing what he's capable of at that point. So, I mean, how fun would that be to actually, have that happen to you and then realize that you can do all this cool stuff. And, of course, then he does the backflip whenever the dude tries to, do him dirty, and he comes behind him trying to tackle him. I don't like that two-on-one stuff. That's,
everyone gathers like a high school fight, around. And so, they're all watching, and all of a sudden, Peter uses a little bit too much of his strength and slams Flash, and Flash goes flying, hitting the floor, sliding across the hall, and everybody's like, "What's wrong with you, Peter Parker?"
Right.
You're weird.
Yeah. Except for Harry. Harry's like, that was awesome.
That was awesome. Yeah. Harry was Peter's best friend.
Yeah, he was definitely his supporter for sure.
And yet, if you knew the comics and if you knew, the TV show and everything, you knew what was going to come, and that friendship was not going to last.
Right, it was going to sour.
Yeah.
For sure. Yep.
And you already start seeing, like, when they get to the lab or museum or whatever it is, that Norman Osborn drops off Harry, and then Norman comes, Harry's dad comes to give Harry his backpack, I think, or something like that. He forgot something.
Right, something.
And so he meets Peter Parker, and they hit it off. And so there kind of starts that jealousy. Not quite yet, but it starts it where you see that Harry will start getting jealous of Peter and his dad's relationship, because
it's
Norman,
his dad giving Peter Parker compliments that he doesn't give his own son. you know, and he's giving him attention that he doesn't give his own son.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
And, William Dafoe, brilliant actor.
yeah, he really is. He
Brilliant actor.
he did like 90 to 95% of his own stunts in this movie. He wanted it to be authentic. He didn't want a stunt actor to be in his place because he felt like it would take away and people would be able to notice it.
Yeah.
So I think that's impressive that he did almost all of his own stunts, even on the glider. He was able to get on that glider and he was able to figure it out, and within 15, 20 minutes, he was able to be proficient on the glider
Right.
for the movie. And he loved filming the movie so much that he asked them if he could be in the sequel, and they wrote him in a small part in Spider-Man 2. But Willem Dafoe is a fantastic actor, and he actually lobbied to get the role whenever other actors, they read for it, and whenever he found out about the role, he was filming another movie, and he actually he recorded him acting and in the hotel room, just so that he could get the part, and they sent that in, and that helped him get the role, and he wanted it. And once he found out about it and read it, he wanted that part, and that matters. It shows. It comes through.
Oh yeah, definitely. He did a fantastic job, and he's very believable. If I haven't said it before, I love the villain's part. Any good villain, he makes it a good villain. He makes a great villain, the Green Goblin, and just how insane he becomes, And I remember after, probably, I don't even know, after the movie came out, sometime after that, you started seeing like people photoshopping William Dafoe's face as the Joker.
Okay.
And
I could see that.
That popped up. I remember seeing it pop up, and it had the white face, the green hair, the smile, the forced smile, and I'm like, oh gosh, this would be amazing if he was Joker. And I'm so glad that we got to see him in Beetlejuice, the sequel to Beetlejuice.
Mm-hmm.
I said it 3 times. So.
Right. He's here. He's coming. Who's here? Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so it was fun. He probably had a lot of fun in that role as well, and I think he did say it, But he had a lot. I'm sure he had a lot of fun in Spider-Man as well.
Right.
And I'm glad that he came back in Spider-Man 2, even though his character was finished. As far as being alive, he came back to haunt Harry.
Right.
Basically in his mind, because it all sets it up though. That human performance enhancing serum, that they were developing for the military to use. It makes violence, aggression, and insanity.
Yeah,
those are the 3
bad
results.
Side effects.
And so
if you put that on the label, I'm not going to take it.
But Norman wanted this so bad that he took that little vial that was supposed to be something to help, with the gas and everything.
Right.
So it's just hilarious. He's already seemingly insane. When he's
willing to risk his own life just for the sake of his product and his company and the testing.
So he takes that little bottle, boom, you're seeing the evilness of him, and so they strap him down. And what I think is hilarious, it's just a small little funny moment when the other assistant puts on that metal strap on him. He's like, ooh, cold.
Yeah, that's cold. Yeah, I thought that was funny too. He's this tough guy, and he's like, I'm going to risk my life for this. And he's like,
he's laying down there, oh, cold.
Well, again, that's just a testament to his acting skills that he could be both in the same scene and be believable at the same time,
Yeah.
and just go from one to the other right there.
Yeah.
So, and just add that little layer of humor in there. So,
And so, the gas starts up and everything, and he starts having seizures and shakes and all kinds of things. His blood pressure shoots through the roof, probably over, if at least 150, beats per second, from what they showed, on the screen. And then, he flatlines.
right.
And
then he's
then
dead.
he comes back and he like leaps and shoots through the glass, and he lands like a predator, and
Right.
and so he, I guess, accidentally or on purpose kills his assistant.
No, as soon as his assistant comes up, his assistant comes in when he flatlines, and his assistant, is trying to shake him and wake him up. And as soon as he wakes up, he goes back to formula, and he grabs him by the throat and he slings him through the glass.
That's
and
right.
then so the assistant goes through the glass and lands on some sort of equipment, and then he jumps up on the rail, and he's like, and then he jumps out, and then that's the end of it. Yeah.
Back to formula.
Yeah, because it's assistant. He was right.
Yeah.
It needed to go back to formula. They needed to do more testing. They needed to get it right, and
You see the results.
Yeah, right. Yeah, when things are rushed.
It does need to go back to formula.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But Norman didn't want to.
Yeah,
He wanted his power. Money, prestige, whatever, and so
it was his company. He wanted to save the company.
Yeah, he wanted to show them that
Right.
this works. But I don't know if he was prepared to actually, experience everything that this gas was going to do to him.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't know. How could you know?
Yeah.
Again, it was
And
experimental.
it's tragic, too.
Yeah, yeah, because he loses himself in it,
Yeah.
in the process.
But he was also a little bit on the edge of being evil already, not uncaring father, and showing
Look how ruthless. He was ruthless.
Yeah.
He was ready to disregard the rules, and he was already bending rules and doing things for the sake of the company and the success of his serum and his plan. He wanted the contract from the government, and he was going to do whatever he could to get that contract for the company's sake. Yep. So.
But yeah, great actor.
Agreed.
Yeah.
All around.
All around, yes.
Yeah. So again, he wakes up, and he and Harry finds him. He's like, "Hey, Dad, you were asleep on the floor. What are you doing?" And he doesn't remember what happened that night. So then the assistant somebody from the company runs in and tells him what happened. So and so's dead in the lab,
and the glider is missing.
The glider's missing. Right. So he doesn't remember what happened, and so that sets the stage for the Green Goblin right there.
Right. And I like it. I like the Green Goblin outfit. I like it where you can actually see Norman's face through it.
Mm-hmm.
And there are times, though, it's a movie, so they don't get everything right, where he's talking but his mouth isn't moving, or you see it moving and it's not supposed to be moving, or there's different words coming out, and all that,
Right.
But it's, for me, as someone who loves the movie process, I love to look at those little things and point at them, and it just makes...
I noticed that stuff too.
Yeah.
Whenever you got the cameras behind someone and here's their head, and you can see their jaws moving, but they're not supposed to be talking, or it's out of sync, or whatever it is, and that's just the voiceover process. A lot of times when Spider-Man's talking, his mask isn't even moving.
Right.
His jaw's not even moving. I'm like, that Joker's not talking. It's just voiceover work in the studio. So, it happens.
And it happens usually because someone's like, this doesn't flow together well. We have to say something, to make this part make sense,
Right.
So we have to add a line in there, So that's usually what happens. or maybe they just didn't plan on it being.
I don't know. Either way, it's. I mean, it's again, it's a. I enjoy the movie regardless of all of its flaws.
Yeah.
So at that point, let's see. So then Peter's figuring out his design, his costume design. He wants his money. He that's whenever Mary Jane gets in the car with her boyfriend that night. And so he sees the car and he decides he wants the money to get the car and to get the girl. And then he comes up with his initial costume, which is not anything like this or this.
It's pajamas.
It is. It's pretty much his t-shirt with a spray painted spider logo on the front of it.
And a little hoodie with...
Yep. And so he fights Bonesaw in the movie.
Bonesaw!
Which is the wrestler, Macho Man Randy Savage. And I can do a pretty good Macho Man, but I don't know if we're ready for that. So, Bonesaw is ready.
There you go.
So, anyways, so he wants to be the human spider, and the guy, I'm pretty sure it's Bruce Campbell, is the actor that's doing the, he's the announcer.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, that's a dumb name. I'm not going to say that. So he's the one that coins him as the Amazing Spider-Man in the movie. And so when he comes out, and of course he's fighting Bonesaw, interesting that the Macho Man Randy Savage, when he first started wrestling, he was the something spider. It was the spider was in his wrestling name.
Oh.
So that again just added another layer to the movie.
I didn't know that.
Well, I mean, I had to read it up online. I didn't know it either.
You don't have to give that away.
So at any rate, so that's whenever he's fighting. Peter Parker is coming out, and he's got his mask on, and he's got the colors, but he doesn't have the costume how it ends up yet. So yeah, that's where he starts to lose a little bit, and he's getting beat up, and he got the chair, and Bonesaw's hitting him with the folded collapsible chair.
I wonder where his spider sense was with that chair, though. It was like that was.
Well, he was already in the fight. I mean, so I don't know.
But it's like, even whenever I watched it the first time, it's like, why didn't he pick up on that? Someone was, he was coming after him with a chair.
Right.
That something should have went off like.
Right. That's true.
But
that's fair.
Whatever.
That's fair. Yeah.
It's a movie.
I mean, this is Bonesaw. I mean, how could he? I mean, he was a minute. He was just a menacing figure. This freaking Macho Man Randy, the Macho Man Randy Savage. So it's, I've said that once or twice in my life. So
Plenty of practice.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Lots of practice. So yes, that scene is what sets the scene, the tone for when he goes to get it paid, and the guy shorts him his money. Instead of $3,000, he only gives him $100, and then that's what makes him not care. It's almost like him getting revenge when the guy that robs the money, he lets him run by.
Goes in the elevator, and then you hear the robber, thanks.
Right. And of course he doesn't know it at the time, but that's the guy that got Uncle Ben, that killed Uncle Ben, and that's what sets him into, then he's got to make it right. So then he gets serious about it, and he decides that he's going to do something about it and go get this guy.
Yeah.
And that's whenever he first uses his webs through the city. And so he has to learn how to swing from building to building and dodge the light poles and the red lights and the traffic and the bridge.
Yeah.
He's on that truck, and then he has to jump over the overpass, and so that's CGI, of course.
Yeah,
and it looks good.
Yeah, even the camera motions, even if it's a through a computer, it was like a ride,
Mm-hmm.
and
it was.
And I enjoyed that they made it feel like you were a part of
first person.
You were a part of that web slinging action.
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, And of course, then it's he lands on the roof of the car, and then the guy shoots at him, and so I mean it's the typical bad guy stuff. He's got a gun, he shoots, and of course it's. I've always wondered if Spider-Man was bulletproof. I mean, what would happen if he actually got hit with a bullet? I mean, his skin's harder, it's more dense, so I would imagine that it's not going to kill him, but at the same time, that would have to sting a little bit.
Yeah, probably a lot of bruises.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Yeah. Or even
because he's not invincible.
Yeah, even if he isn't totally bulletproof, I would imagine that later on, his suit has some impenetrable, material.
Yeah.
Like a bulletproof vest.
Right. Kevlar.
Yeah.
Maybe. So.
Kevlar or something even better than that.
Right.
That's fantasy.
Right. So that's after he gets that guy, and then he gets his revenge, and he he pushes the guy out the window, or no, the guy falls out the window, wasn't it? They fight in the warehouse, and the guy pulls the gun on him, and then he smacks the gun out of his hand, and the guy goes to go back like that,
and loses his balance,
and then
falls out of the window to his death, and yet. We understand and we see that Peter Parker still had a choice. He could have saved the guy by slinging a web and pulling him back, just like he did with the tray. But yet he decided, because he wanted revenge against his uncle's death, to let him die.
Right.
And so even through that, he still has that lesson to learn that vengeance is not supposed to be his,
Right.
And that's not the way that a hero does things,
Right.
basically.
Yeah, that's it.
And so he learns it the tough way, though, because it's like he's got that to think about, which I don't think he thinks too much of, throughout the movie. But he does think about where he could have been there when his uncle was there to pick him up.
Right.
And so he carries that guilt.
Right.
That he was, goofing off or trying to earn.
Well, he's the one that let the bad guy go that ran by him that killed his uncle.
That too, and so he carries that guilt, and he eventually uses that guilt, though, to be the hero that he needs to be.
Right. And that's whenever he finally decides to get the costume right and comes up with this, the actual Spider-Man design, this design.
Yeah.
And, that's, which, again, it's one of those things to where I'm like, where did he get the fabric? Where did he get, what is this part here?
Yeah.
What is that? Is that like a rubber drizzle that he did from, a
Dr.
bottle?
Connors.
That's, it may have been, I don't know. Somebody, I don't know. Either way, he was crafty.
I don't know.
So, yeah.
I wonder how he got the costume in the comics.
I don't know. It's so I don't know. Either way,
I'm gonna look it up.
So he, So then he decides he's going to be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man and start helping, and so he goes around and starts stopping the robberies and the bad guys and just helping the police, the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and then he. Stenciled on web design, yeah. So, that's about right.
So, yeah, Peter Parker initially crafted his iconic red and blue suit himself from cheap materials, like a dance unitard and a long johns, and stenciled on web designs.
Yeah.
But this, of course, is very intricate. This is when I first saw that Spider-Man suit, I was like, man, this has detail. It's not just like a leotard.
Right.
I mean,
it's not just.
It is, but you've got these plastic things, or these rubber pieces.
It's got a three-dimensional texture to it. Yeah.
And even the suit itself, it's textured. This is a low-resolution photo, but yeah. I mean, that first look at it, I'm like, that's a good suit.
Yeah, it is.
It stands up to today too, I think.
Right. Well, it's pretty darn close to this one. I mean, and
Oh, yeah.
that one.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's it. So yeah, that's the suit for sure. So I like that he just automatically knows his place. He knows what he wants to do. He picks a lane and he stays in it, and he becomes the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He leaves notes when he, helps the people, stuff like that. And then of course he, he gets fired from his job because he's out crime fighting and he's always late to his job, so he gets fired. So
Right.
then he becomes the photographer, the freelance photographer, and starts taking pictures of himself and selling them.
And
Convenient.
we get introduced to another great actor as well. We've got J.K. Simmons
Right.
as J. Jonah Jameson, the editor-in-chief,
Right.
of
Chief.
the Daily Bugle.
Right.
And so he's an amazing actor as well. I just
It's very fast paced.
Yeah.
All of his stuff is so fast paced. The way he talks and the way he moves,
Yeah.
and I thought it was very funny whenever his assistant, she rings through on the phone. She's like, "Your wife's on the phone." He's like, "Click," and he just hangs up really fast. Like, "No, thank you." So it always gets me.
Yeah, as an actor though, when you've got all these little things, you've got to like work on it for it to work. Just like those, every little thing that happens. He does a lot. Of that, and that's what makes it funny and work. For J.K. Simmons.
Right.
And so and then at the end of that scene, he's like, he doesn't want to be famous. I'll make him infamous.
Right, right, and he does. He's he's the one that he just wants to sell papers, and he wants to cause controversy. So Peter Parker, of course, is defending Spider-Man because he is Spider-Man,
Right.
and he's like, "No, he's just helping," and they're like, "Well, I'll decide that," So he just wants to sell newspapers, and
Spider-Man!
Yeah, and of course, they sell out of their newspaper. So that's whenever he's like, "Oh, he's going to be on the front page." So that's whenever, he's again, Peter Parker starts making a living freelancing, selling his photos of himself, staged, of course. So, that's his introduction to, again, being able to control his own schedule and still be able to make money.
Yeah.
So he can do the crime fighting whenever he wants, wherever he wants, and still, take the pictures, sell the pictures.
And nobody questions Peter. How did you get that angle?
Right. Yeah, from way up on the building,
And you've got to think that some of those criminals that he caught, saw where that camera was, because you see the flash, then you have to like look to see what is that,
Right. That
can add to a distraction for one of the bad guys, for Spider-Man to knock him out.
Sure.
As well.
Yeah, and I'm let's assume that he used that to his advantage, and that did help.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So what's interesting is Jonah's assistant was Sam Raimi's brother.
Oh, yeah.
The one with glasses. When he came in, he's like, "We got a problem on page 6," or whatever it was. So it's just interesting how all that weaves together with the family ties and stuff like that. Of course you'd never know that. It's so.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of good characters in this that show up, and it just makes a good movie.
Mm-hmm. I liked the montage of the people that they were interviewing about Spider-Man. And the cop, he's like, "I don't know, some wackadoo, some masked wackadoo." Yeah. I'm like, could they have made him sound like any more of an idiot? I mean, of course, that may have been by design. And then there was the one guy that looked like he was unpacking the back of a truck, and he was like, "I think he stinks." And I was like, "Okay, that's whatever."
You probably stink.
Yeah, right.
But then you got the guy in the subway, with the guitar. Spider-Man does whatever a Spider-Man can.
Mm-hmm.
or Spider
So
can.
yeah, I'm trying to remember the exact words, but it's dressed like a spider, looks like a bug. I think we should all give him a hug, something like that. It's something cheesy.
Yeah.
So I did like that they incorporated the montage of the different perspectives of the citizens about Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So it kind of gave some context there. That some people liked him, some people didn't. You
Yeah.
can't please everyone, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So, and then of course that leads into his conflict with Harry, because when they graduate, that is another layer of Harry's dad Norman giving attention to Peter, and so that leads into again them starting to have their conflict right there.
Yeah. And then you fast forward a little bit, I think, and so you have MJ who's leaving the diner.
Mm-hmm.
Unbeknownst to Peter at first, oh, hey, MJ, and MJ's like, oh, I'm going to, auditions. And then the diner boss, comes out, yells at her, telling her, that he's going to take it out of her tips, or whatever,
Yep, her
or
tip was
pay
short.
or whatever. And so she's embarrassed, and she opens up her trench coat, to reveal the diner suit, and so Peter, he doesn't care. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter
she's
to
got
him.
a job. She's working.
And I don't know. I think it's like this is the first time that we as an audience, I think, know that Peter and Harry are living together.
Right, because she says, well, I'll something about God, I'm trying to remember. She's going to the audition, and
Don't
then she
tell
says,
Harry.
well, she says, I'll see you later, something like that. I'm going to see Harry later, and and then he's like, oh, okay, and then she says, oh, Harry didn't tell you, we're dating.
Yeah.
And so that's whenever we find out that they are sharing an apartment. And in that scene, I think that's one of the odd lines. The way she, when she's walking away, she's like, "Don't tell Harry," and then he's like, "I won't tell Harry."
Don't tell Harry.
Yeah.
Oh no, don't tell Harry.
Right. I don't know. It's just the way she delivered it. I always
Yeah.
thought was odd.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just the way I heard it, my ear to it. But
It's like they use that same line for Norman at the very end of the movie when he's on the brink of death. He's like, "Don't tell Harry."
right. They're all trying to protect Harry.
Yeah.
So, so at some point, the Green Goblin connects the dots. No, it's at Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah.
So the Green Goblin, they have their fight.
They had the fight, and one of the Green Goblin's little devices nicks his arm,
Right.
Spider-Man's arm, and
The
so
little boomerang slicers
yeah.
that are flying through the air. Yeah, yeah.
And so Norman, after the fight's over, Norman and Aunt May and
It was the structure fire.
Yeah,
It was the house,
yeah.
the building fire, and Spider-Man goes up because he hears someone screaming up
Yeah.
there, and it was the Green Goblin baiting him up
Right.
there, and that's when they get in their first fight, is up there in that building in the structure fire,
Yeah.
and that's whenever the Green Goblin's throwing those things out, and they're
Yeah.
slicing at him, and so yeah, it gets him on the arm, and so we know so that answers our question. He's not bulletproof because
Right.
one of those blades cut through
Yeah.
his costume and cut his freaking forearm, and
Right.
he's bleeding. Wuss.
Or it could be just a special blade from Norman Osborn.
Maybe the Osborne Tech.
Osborn
Yeah.
Industries. or
Yeah.
whatever.
So yeah. So then
they're
that
back
leads
at the
to
apartment,
Thanksgiving.
and then Peter's late, and so he swings into his little wing apartment, and so they hear something, his thump, and they go up to see if Peter snuck in, and so couldn't find Peter. And Peter is actually on the ceiling because he had nowhere else to hide in that short amount of time. And so his arm is still bleeding a little bit, and a drop of blood falls from his arm to the floor. You think at first it might just splatter on Norman.
Right. Like it's going to hit him.
And then he walks, and then you see the animated CGI blood,
A little drop. Yeah.
and then Norman looks, and then
Well, he's got the Green Goblin, the abilities, the hearing and stuff like that at that point.
Bloop.
So then he turns around and he sees it, and then of course looks up, and that split second gives Spider-Man enough time to get from the ceiling to the balcony, and that's whenever I'm like, how fast was that? How that's like quiet as a mouse that he got from the ceiling out there that fast. Where did the web go? Because he walks out there, right? So I mean, that's another thing that we didn't talk about is the actual web. In the movie, they made it out of like styrofoam and something else. So the web. How in the where does all the web go? Whenever he's I'm backtracking, then we can come back to it. So whenever he's figuring out, he's in his bedroom after he gets his abilities and he's practicing and he's shooting the web all around his room, and he shoots one web and gets the Dr. Pepper can, and comes back, he catches that, and then he shoots the other web and gets the lamp and comes. Why didn't he catch the lamp? He could have caught that too. But anyways, he ducks and the lamp smashes behind him.
He's learning.
Yeah, he's learning. But what in the world do you do with all that webbing? How do you get it down? Does he put it in the trash bag and just throw it in the dumpster?
I want to say that in time, it loses its power and it just fades away.
Well, let's hope so, because the city will have it hanging all over the place. I always thought that. I was like, what in the world? How do they get rid of all this web that's hanging from all these buildings? They're like, well, we know Spider-Man was here.
It evaporates.
Let's assume
that's
so.
what I'm going
with. I don't know. They say that, the spider's webs is to scale stronger than steel. So, I don't know.
What happens to the spider webs?
Yeah, I know, right? I'd hate to be the guy that comes behind and cleans up all that.
Because, spider webs in real life, God, if you accidentally run into one,
it's all over you. You get it, and of course you think you've got a spider on you. So, and sometimes you do. So, at any rate, okay, so going back, and then that's at the Thanksgiving dinner. That's whenever they figure out. So, what's interesting is Peter is wearing the Green Goblin, and Norman is wearing blue and red like Spider-Man's outfits. So, it's got that little dynamic there, that they're wearing each other's colors and they're figuring out who's who,
right.
And that's another part of this, and I'm going to get on another soapbox, is how do they not know? They talk to each other. They hear each other speak outside of costume. And then when they're fighting each other, they hear the voices. And as soon as you said, if you and I if I was the villain and you were the good guy, as soon as we started talking to each other during a fight, I'd be like, what? Jamie? Is that you?
Because he's not like Batman. He doesn't
disguise his voice at all, and neither does Norman Osborn. No. When it's the Green Goblin, it's a little more raspy, but it's still his voice. It's still his voice. So, anyways, that got me. I'm like, the same thing with Superman. I mean, and all that stuff. Anyways, you have to suspend your disbelief. Right. I get it. I get it. So
they were in the moment. They weren't thinking about Peter and Norman. So
anyway, of course, Peter blames it on a bike messenger clipping him, but Norman knows that they fought, and that's where he got him when he was the Green Goblin.
That?
Yes, and then that's whenever it's over. Thanksgiving dinner's over, and that's whenever, Harry tries to bring him back in, and that's when everybody overhears the nasty things he says about, Mary Jane and so
groomer and all that.
Yeah, she's just after his trust fund money. So
thanks a lot, Harry, for sticking up for me.
Yeah.
And then she walks out, and Thanksgiving is just ruined.
Right. So, as it happens with so many family Thanksgivings, I'm sure everyone can relate to that.
I remember
you get enough family members together, and somebody's going to step on some toes.
I remember when Norman's about to carve the turkey. Mm-hmm. Aunt May slaps him.
Mm-hmm. That look he gives
that
her.
Looks that he gives her, like, I'm about to kill you,
Do you know who I am? Yeah. So
he goes to pick the turkey, and then she slaps him.
Right.
Norman?
Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
Would you do the honors?
So that's whenever he figures out that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. And that's whenever the Green Goblin goes after Aunt May and comes and smashes in the house and, and scares her. And so anyways, of course, she ends up in the hospital. And that's whenever Mary Jane comes in, and they're holding hands, and Harry comes in late and sees them holding hands, and then he thinks something's going on with them. Right. So there's so many little nuanced things about the movie, and all the way the characters progress and the relationships progress. So you got to go take care of Aunt May.
Yep.
And that's whenever Peter Parker realizes that he needs to protect his family because the Green Goblin now knows who he is.
Right.
So then he goes on the attack and becomes more proactive about it, because he's got to defend his turf.
Yeah. And when the Green Goblin comes to attack, Aunt May, she's saying the Lord's Prayer, and so she gets to the part of lead us not in temptation, and then he busts through. He's like, finish it.
Yeah, he's maniacal that way, right?
Deliver us from evil.
Right. Because he knows what line's next. He knows. So, yeah. So, and of course, it's...
He gets, Spider-Man calls Mary Jane. And I love this. Mary Jane, then you hear click, and then you hear Green Goblin, can Spider-Man come out to play?
Right. So now, again, Peter's got to go save the day. Again. Mary Jane always needing to be saved. So, yeah, and that leads up to the bridge scene, right? Whenever they're fighting on the bridge, whenever Spider-Man shows up, and he's got the cable car. The Green Goblin has a cable car.
What will it be?
Right, at the top of the bridge. And he's got, Mary Jane in the other, and then he lets Mary Jane go and lets the cable car go, and that's when you see in both eyes, in each eye, you see one scenario and the other scenario, and how's he going to do both? So and that's where he tests his mettle again and figures out that he can do both.
A lot of writers use that type of storytelling there, pick one or the other.
Right.
And it's always comes down to he's going to do both. He's going to save both.
Right.
Because he's the hero, and that's what he has to do.
Right.
He's going to figure it out.
He has to try.
He's going to figure it out. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I liked it, and it's... So, again, this is where some more of the CGI comes in, because at a certain point, Mary Jane falls, and, she's on... she's holding on to the cable. Spider-Man's got her, and he saved her, and he grabs a hold of the cable for the cable car that's falling, and he's got both, and then he's telling her to climb down because he sees the Green Goblin coming at him.
And she's like, I can't.
Yeah, and so he convinces her to, and then, she's holding on whenever everything's going wild, and she's swinging around, her feet are swinging around, and she's holding on like that, and I'm like, there's no way. He would have had to put some spider web on her hands.
Spider Velcro.
Yeah, to help her hold on to that thing, because otherwise she'd have been flung off and thrown 100 feet out into the river.
She's got some hands of steel.
Yeah, well, I guess, if you're holding on for dear life, anybody can do anything at that point. So, but eventually she makes it to she falls off of the cable, and she ends up catching herself on the side of the car, the rail car. So,
I would have died.
Oh, well, I mean, you'd have just hit the water, and I mean, you just hope that you didn't die right then. But
being smacked against, and you'd had some really bad injuries the next morning.
Oh,
to
yeah,
wake up
I'm sure she was bruised.
Yeah.
So, but of course, the guys in the boat, they come and they get under it just in time to save the day, and all is well. And then that's whenever the final fight scene ensues, and that's.
And I like how his costume's damaged.
Okay.
And it reveals like half of
Part
his
of his
face,
face when
part
the
of his
explosion
face,
happens
and
in the final
explosion,
fight
yeah.
scene. Yep.
And those explosions from those pumpkins, you know, I forget what you call them.
We'll roll with that.
Yeah, they're supposed to like vaporize you. I think. Maybe he had a different kind. I don't know, but
Yeah, I don't know.
or maybe it's just because he is Spider-Man. Maybe
Yeah.
there is something to his body and chemistry, and that makes him a little bit stronger, not impenetrable, but
Right.
then you know half his face, you know, half of the costume blows up and reveals his face and blood here and there and it just it was nice to see that
Right.
and it's a redeeming quality, I think, for Norman at the very end. You know, you see him realize, you know, what he's done, I guess. And so, and he's protecting Harry all along, you know, afterwards. He wasn't a good father, but yet, you know, that line, don't tell Harry, you know. So he doesn't tell Harry, but then at the very end, you see Peter, Spider-Man, carry Harry's father, you know, lays him on the couch bed, and Harry comes in, sees the shadow well enough to know that that's Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spider-Man leaving. Yeah.
And so
He goes to get his gun.
Yeah, and that turns Harry against Spider-Man.
Right. Because
And
he thinks Spider-Man killed his dad.
His dad.
Yeah.
Which was quite the opposite, and
Right.
circumstances. And I think this time around that Peter wanted to save Norman. Just like he didn't want to save his Uncle Ben's killer.
Right.
But he wanted to save him, but Norman had it coming. And, you know, he had that glider coming. And so Spider-Man flipped.
Got out of the way.
Got out of the way. But
classic mistake from a villain.
Yeah.
You never get in the line of your own weapons.
Yeah.
You never ever. It's just like whenever you're cutting stuff. You always cut away. You never cut towards yourself.
Yeah.
You know?
And poor Norman, he gets it bad.
Yeah.
In the worst spot ever.
Right. Right. Gets him.
Right in that spot.
Yep.
So, oof.
So yeah, it's again, as far as fight scenes go, again, going back to Willem Dafoe doing most of his own stunts. So again, that was him in costume
Right.
fighting, and at one point he actually did hit Tobey Maguire in the jaw, and I don't know if he broke his skin or whatever it was, but that was a bit of a deal.
Yeah.
I think one of the stuntmen, whenever the brick wall came down, the stuntman that did that injured his leg pretty bad. So I mean, it happens.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can't have an action sequence or scene and everything go to plan. I say you can't.
Right.
Stuff's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Things are gonna go bad whenever you're pulling a brick wall down. And even if it probably wasn't real brick, of course. It was, for whatever it was,
Yeah,
however it happened.
styrofoam.
Yeah. So whoever it was, he got injured in that part of it. But again, goes back to the testament to Willem Dafoe of how he did his own stunts. And I don't know how old he was when that movie was made, but I mean, he looked to be easily in his 50s. I mean, it's
Yeah.
I mean, we could look it up, but I mean, it's I don't, as far as that goes, I think that was impressive that he wanted to do his own stunts and that he, was able to get on the glider and do everything, that he needed to do. So
45 or 46 years
Okay.
old when filming
okay.
in 2001.
Gotcha. So I made him a little older than he was. So, I
He
mean,
just has that face, I think, that he
Face and the
passes
voice.
off a little bit older than what he really is.
right,
Some have a younger look and they're older. Some have older look and they're younger.
right.
So he's one of those.
Yeah.
But yeah, awesome acting job for all of them.
On everybody's part,
everybody's
for sure.
part. Yeah, Harry did a very good job.
James Franco.
Yeah, and he's gone on to
And actually,
other
he
films.
read, they let James Franco read to be Spider-Man in that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and of course, then they decided he would be better as, Harry Osborn.
Right.
So and I think they made the right choice. I mean, going with Spider-Man, it's Tobey Maguire as
Yeah.
Spider-Man. He fit and he checked all the boxes.
Oh, yeah. And
Overall,
of course,
I enjoyed it.
at the end, you have where he wants to protect Mary Jane
Right, at the funeral.
at the funeral.
Whenever she realizes that she loves him and she wants to be with him and she's
Yeah.
going to give him a chance.
Yeah.
And so
And-
she kisses him.
And normally, if it was different,
If he wasn't Spider-Man.
if Peter Parker, would have, said yes to Mary Jane, I want to be an item, I want to be a couple, but then because he's Spider-Man and because he has seen how close that the enemy can come to killing his Aunt May and putting Mary Jane in danger, that it's not worth the risk to have loved ones,
Right.
as close as he is, And so
if the villains find out
Right.
who he is, then they'll go after the people he cares about to get to him.
He tries to be selfless in a way, but that also hurts him. It also hurts Mary Jane. But then when Peter Parker walks away, I think she now realizes that, because I think she holds your lip, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, they kiss
Yeah,
there,
they kiss.
and then earlier in the movie when he saved her from the bad guys,
Right.
after her play, he goes to see her play that she's in,
Yeah.
and then she's walking, through the alley,
Yeah,
and
and
then
the upside down kiss.
Yes, and in
And
that
so-
scene it was raining,
Right.
and he had trouble with that scene because he was truly upside down,
yeah.
and the water was running in his nose the whole time. How miserable would that be? Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
it's
And
would
the
be
blood
burning.
rushing up in your head.
Yeah.
But,
And she should have, when that happened,
Yeah.
she should have just grabbed the mask and be like, "Rah!" and then yanked it off. That was.
But I think at that moment, she realizes that
That's him.
he's Spider-Man.
Right.
And I want to say, because of either somewhere in this first film or either in the second through the third film, Aunt May also realizes or knows that he is Spider-Man.
Right.
Because she does at one scene or another, I don't think it's in this movie, but in another movie, that she has the heart with Peter, because Peter's questioning, this or that, and so she just kind of talks like, well, Spider-Man knows, or I don't remember the conversation,
Right.
but
The second one's with Doc Ock,
yeah,
right? Dr.
yeah.
Octopus. Okay.
Dr. Ock.
And then Spider-Man 3 is when Venom comes in,
Sandman,
and the
Venom,
Black Spider-Man comes into place, and it's
Yeah.
Sandman,
and
Electro.
Harry.
No, that's
that's the Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, right.
So you have Harry turn into the Hobgoblin,
Right.
and then you have the Venom alien goo.
Yeah.
You have the Sandman, and
There's a third one, isn't there? The Sandman.
Doc Connors is in it, but I don't. Hold on.
And the New Goblin. Okay. So in Spider-Man 3, it's the Sandman,
Venom, and the New Goblin.
and then the New Goblin, which is, the
Which is
Hobgoblin.
Hobgoblin.
Yeah.
Goblin,
So,
yeah.
yeah. Okay. And that's where he's going through his like existential crisis. We don't have to get into that one, but I do remember that, to where he's like, he doesn't think at a certain point he's not going to be Spider-Man anymore, and then so anyways. But yeah, we're still on the first one.
Right.
So
But the first one was really good,
yeah, I liked it.
and I like it. I like.
I
the
still
whole,
do.
I like the whole trilogy.
Right.
And we'll get to Spider-Man 2 and 3 later on. and we'll talk about the woes and the heartaches and the great things about it
Sure.
as well. But this one established Spider-Man, and that you can do Spider-Man in films now,
Right.
because of the CGI and because of the technology.
Right.
Before
this-
it would have been something, I guess they could have passed it off, but it would have been a lot of work, a lot of stunts.
Well, they had old Spider-Man movies. They just
They did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they had some. They just
But
were
that
hokey.
just doesn't. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
they were,
what I'm
they
saying.
Just, they were hokey. This one was a huge success. This was the first movie to gross over $100 million in its first weekend.
Yeah.
And this really set the tone and let the industry know that superhero, to your point earlier, way
Right.
earlier, that superhero movies could succeed. Batman, Superman, those were the first ones that really made it. And then this one was the first movie ever to make $100 million in the first weekend.
Right. Like, you've got Superman and Batman, and they show the world that superhero movies can work. Spider-Man, I think, takes it to a different level to show that it can work at a much broader, bigger scale, a much fantastical scale, because of CGI and because of the technology. And you can place people, actors, whoever, in these unbelievable,
Because of green screens and blue
the
screens.
screen
So
greens,
in
blue
this movie,
screens, CGI,
yeah,
all that.
all the CGI, to your point. So when they were filming Spider-Man special effects scenes, they used a green screen.
Right.
And when they used the Green Goblin special effects screen, because he was green, they used a blue screen.
Right. And the industry used to use just blue, but now I think green has like a pigment that we don't have, in our skin,
Okay.
or not as much used in our skin. So when you go up against the green screen, it takes the image, it takes the green away, without taking you away.
Right.
But that's
Yeah.
a little bit of how that works. And
I just thought it was interesting that with the two characters. So with, again, the Spider-Man, because he didn't have green in his costume, they used the green screen behind him. And with the Green Goblin, because he was all green, they had to use the blue screen behind him.
Yeah.
So, it's pretty interesting the way it all worked.
Yeah.
But it definitely did work. Again, all the pieces and parts were there for a great movie.
Definitely.
And set it up for sequels,
Oh, yeah.
which there were many of. It's overall, again, I enjoyed the movie thoroughly. I watched it a couple times recently. One, to refamiliarize myself.
Right.
I have the DVD,
Yeah.
so I actually popped the DVD in just to see, because there was one thing that was supposed to be like a boom mic in one scene. And I went back and rewatched it streaming, and I was like, no, it's not there.
Yeah.
So then I thought, okay, well, they must have wiped it out. They did their work, in post. And so then I went to the DVD that I have, and I popped that in, and I looked for it, and I didn't see it there either. So it must have been only in the theatrical release that boom mic was there, that goof, and then they realized it and fixed it before they released the DVD.
Yeah.
So, which is fine, because I'm glad they did that.
yeah.
Because then I'd be like, there it is, I see it, that's a flaw.
There are some flaws in films that they have kept, over the re-releases, and they haven't touched it up with CGI. It's, I'm going back to Batman, but
You always do.
I do, because I'm Batman.
Yeah, right?
And so, the Joker reveal. He walks out, and because they couldn't get a green or a purple trench coat, because they don't sell them, they don't make them, they made this dye on the black trench coat or whatever that they wanted to use, and so they made that purple with the dye. Now the collar hits his neck at some point that they didn't before they recorded. So when he goes, I'm Joker, there's a purple mark on his neck.
Okay.
It's as clear as day.
Right.
Especially now because
Everything's high
that movie
definition.
used to be dark, but now, you know, it looks as bright as everything, and there is no missing that.
Right.
I'm like, why can't you just airbrush it out? You know.
And they could, but that costs more money.
Yeah.
So,
But still, they change, other things like the mic, the boom mic, and all that.
yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, or if it's there, I didn't see it.
Yeah.
And I rewound it and I looked and I was like, well, it's, they fixed it and
Yeah.
that's fine. So, which again, it helps the movie that it doesn't take away from the movie like that.
Right.
Because the last thing you want to see is something like that in the shot. And I'm to the producers' credit and the director's credit and everybody in post that they did fix that, because again, it's not there, and I tried to find it, but yeah, this version of Spider-Man again is probably my favorite.
Yeah.
I like the Amazing Spider-Man and the newer ones, but it's Andrew Garfield. That was one of them.
Yeah.
And he was the Amazing Spider-Man.
Right.
And I was trying to think of the other Spider-Man's name, but at any rate, I like, again, the origin story part. Tom Holland. Okay, that's it. I knew that. I couldn't.
I knew
get
it
out.
too.
Yeah. So
when you're up in front of the camera, every bit of your knowledge just goes.
yeah, right. Yeah, it's true. So at any rate, so I liked this one, Spider-Man, this Spider-Man, because of the origin story, because you got to see Uncle Ben, and I'm glad they did it the way that they did it. Yeah. Again, earlier you mentioned about his parents. They address that in the Amazing Spider-Man.
And I love that scene too,
it's good that they didn't do it all in this one, because they left some meat on the bone for the next generation.
And we would have been like, we saw this.
Yeah, exactly. So we missed that part of his origin story.
Yeah.
And that one was in the Amazing Spider-Man. I think it was the one with the lizard in there.
Yeah.
That's where they dealt with that. So
one other scene that I really enjoyed was when Norman is hearing the Green Goblin, in his mansion.
Right.
And so he sees that he's looking through the mirror, and you see the Green Goblin talk to him on the reflection side. And so you have Norman going closer, walk. He does it, and the actor does it in such a suave way, that he's walking like the Green Goblin, but then when you see the angle of Norman versus what you're seeing in the mirror, it looks like Norman's just walking regularly, towards the mirror, but you see the Green Goblin kind of do this thing with his legs and everything, but he makes it, from the waist up, look fluid, like you're just normally walking closer. And he's got that newspaper up. And so, but if you look closely, and obviously part of insanity is that you're believing that you're talking to somebody else, even though it's you, doing both.
Yeah. Norman
and, the Green Goblin. But I don't know if they wanted it to look more like he wasn't talking to himself, but just the reflection was talking and he was just listening. But you can see a little bit of his mouth moving, from the rear side of Norman, looking into the reflection at the Goblin. And so it's like the Goblin has this grin, and he's talking, and then Norman looks at the paper, and then all of a sudden you see this grin go down, and he's serious, And so that's some good acting.
Yeah,
as
he's
well.
switching back and forth from Norman to the Green Goblin. Yeah, yeah. I agree.
That's fun.
That was a good scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's again, it's him hearing the Green Goblin echoing what he thinks is in his apartment,
Right.
but it's in his head.
Yeah.
You know, it's him.
And it's all done in one take. They could, I mean, pretty much in one take. Now they do go to close-ups, but they have a portion of it where it's all one cut. You know,
Right.
and I enjoy that. You know, because he's going back and forth from being the Goblin and Norman.
Right.
So yeah.
And then, of course, at the switching back to the very end of the movie, whenever he's talking, Peter Parker, Spider-Man's talking, saying, I gotta keep going and protect the city, and Spider-Man's got to be around, and then that's whenever you see the reflection of the Twin Towers in his mask, in his eyes,
and the American flag too,
right,
which is largely absent from like the Superman movies. They don't say he's truth, justice, and the American way, like we talked about.
Right.
And so yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thought it was good.
So
I give it. Let's see. Let's rate it. How about I'm gonna give it.
I'm gonna give it
an 8 out of 10.
Hold on. Let's make up our own rating.
Okay.
So let's figure that out on the spot.
Okay.
Let's see.
Are we gonna do stars?
I give it 5 batarangs.
5 batarangs? What is it? You do? What is it? I'm trying to think of that.
5 out of 5 batarangs.
Okay. What's a batarang?
It's a batarang. It's like stars.
Okay.
But so now you think of maybe, whatever, that your superhero uses or whatever.
Boomerang. It's a batarang. Okay, it's the Batman batarang. I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you gave it 5 batarangs.
So what do you give
Are we using a scale of 5 out of 5 or 10 out of 10, or because I'm going to use a scale of 10?
Okay, you can use a scale of 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's I'm gonna give it 8 out of 10 web slings.
Okay, all right. So that will be our measurement from now on.
Well, I mean, this is for Spider-Man.
Oh, I know, but I'm using batarangs.
Okay.
So that's why I told you.
I was trying to use something that fit the movie.
No,
but
you use your own personal,
Okay, well, I'll have to think about that then, Lord, because I'm at heart a freaking Incredible Hulk lover and Wolverine lover. So
stay tuned for the next one, and we'll figure this out.
The debate continues.
Yeah. So mine's batarangs.
All right.
5 out of 5.
All right. Well, I thought we were going. Okay, so now that I know that we're not going exactly on point with each movie theme, so okay, I gotcha. Well, so either way, I give it 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10.
All right. And he'll tell you later what that 8 out of 10 was.
Okay. Yeah, that'll work. That'll work.
So, another great review.
Yeah, I agree. Had fun. Enjoyed it.
So, join us next time as we review another movie. And we'll be into October.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Halloween.
We'll see you then.
All right.